Hey there retro games fans, this is Andy C from Pieces of 8-Bit. So today I'm going to do a bit of a how-to, haven't done one for a while. This is going to be a really short, simple one. So I figured, being as I was doing the Xbox stuff this month, what I would do today is talk a little bit about how you can actually get an emulator running for Xbox. So the reason I decided to do a how-to video is because this is something that I didn't necessarily know how to do myself. I wasn't even sure if there was a widely used Xbox emulator out there, and obviously for those of you who watch my channel, you'll know that I quite often use emulators in order to do my recordings. Sometimes it just makes it a bit easier than pulling the console in and plugging it in and hooking it up, and you get the delay on the video capture card. So it's easier if I own the game, go and get the ROM and then download it. Now I have got a lot of emulators that I've used across a lot of different platforms. Typically if you get something like RetroPie, or you get something like OpenEMU or Launchbox, those kind of things, they will come with a lot of standard emulators. They tend to be mostly the old 8-bit emulators and the 16-bit emulators. On Raspberry Pi, on the RetroPie build, there is an option to turn on some of the slightly more obscure emulators as well. But there are a few of the newer, and I say newer, we're still talking over 20 years, but some of the newer consoles where emulation is actually quite tricky to get going with. So things like the Dreamcast, the GameCube, and the Xbox just require a little bit more thought into how you get them running. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how you do some Xbox emulation today. Now, one thing I would say about any kind of emulation is that obviously the moral implications of using emulators is really down to yourself. Obviously bear in mind local laws and restrictions in terms of ripping games, downloading ROMs, all of those kind of things. Now my general view on this is that I will only download and find ROMs for games that I actually physically own. I will typically download them. There are ways of getting the data off discs. In some cases, not all cases, it is easier to get the ROM, but I feel kind of morally comfortable with the idea of downloading a ROM for a game that I already own and then playing it on the emulator to do my videos. So I will leave that decision entirely down to you. What I won't do is post any kind of links to any kind of copyrighted material or any of those sorts of things as well. So let's dive straight into the how-to and talk to you a little bit about how you can get yourself started with some Xbox emulation on your PC or your Mac. So let's dive straight in and have a look. Okay, so we're going to be using something called Xemu or Xemu, I guess. I don't exactly know entirely how to pronounce it. This seems to be the gold standard for Xbox emulation. So we're going to download this. Well, I've already downloaded it, obviously, but we're going to download Xemu. And this is going to be our Xbox emulator. It's a pretty good emulator as far as I can tell so far. As obviously you can see here, there's been a version pretty recently. So I'm recording this on the 17th. We're going out on the 21st. So there was an update on the 15th of March. So your operating system will appear as the one that you've got. Now it says I've got Mac OS, so I'll be downloading for Mac OS, but the setup and the usage of it are pretty much the same. Okay, so let's get and download that, and I'll be right back with you in a second. Okay, so here we go. I have started the Xemu application, and you can see here it says straight away, please insert an Xbox disc. Now this is not the message you're going to get when you first open this up. What you're going to get is it's going to tell you, you're going to get the settings screen. It's going to look a little bit like this. And then over here on the right hand side, you've got these four options. The bottom one will probably be selected already. And then these top three here will be empty, and you will need to find files for these. So basically the long and short of it is these are copyright files, and therefore they are not freely distributable. So I am not going to be able to put up a link in my description for you. But basically, if you search for Xemu files, Xbox emulation files, MCPX, boot ROM, any of those things, you will find some people who've got those available. Now, again, the moral implications of this are largely down to yourself. Certainly with other consoles that I've emulated that have required BIOS. I own the console, and there are often ways of dragging off the BIOS files and other bits and pieces off that console, which is a real fiddle. But I generally take the view that if you kind of own the console already, then going and finding these files and downloading them, I think is okay. So you may have, you know, your view on this may be that you've got an Xbox, but it doesn't work anymore, and you've got a load of games that you want to play. So I think, you know, I don't know what the legal standpoint is, but from my point of view, you know, morally, that feels like that's okay. You know, you can go and find these files. You're going to play games that you already own. You're just going to do it in an emulated fashion. So just, you know, just be aware of that, but you will need to go and find these files. You can quite often find them on GitHub websites, and there'll be instructions there. Do be careful when you're out there on the web looking for files. Yeah, once you find them, quite often you'll just find a zip file that has all of these files included, and you can just click on here, and you can then just select the file that you want to include. So here we go. I've got that. There's one I got from before, one I made already. Yes, nice and easy to do and get that set up. And really, to be honest with you, that is pretty much it. There isn't much more that you need to do. There are some other settings in here that you can have a general play with. So we'll just quickly run through those so you can see, and I'll talk a little bit about how useful they are. Under general, really not much that you need to change in here. So yeah, I don't think there's anything in here that's really necessarily going to help you with anything in particular. I think the default options are pretty okay. You can skip the startup animation, which is the sort of Xbox startup boot animation if you really want to. Not really sure that there's much use. If you're taking screenshots, you can select a directory there. Input. Now, I actually don't own a USB Xbox controller that I can plug in, so I have actually got a PlayStation 4 controller that is plugged in via USB. If you've got that plugged in via USB, it will just appear here, standard PS4 controller, and down the bottom here, if you've got auto bind selected, it'll just bind that to any open port, and it will just map all of the buttons in the kind of places that you expect them to be. So for instance, that A is X, B is O, this is triangle, that's square. The start button is the same as the start button on the PlayStation 4 controller. Is the sort of options button on the right hand side. You've got your D-pad, you've got your two sticks. So it's all nice and straightforward. I generally haven't found too much trouble with it. Under display, again, not much that you really need to change here. You can obviously tell it to go into full screen from here as well if you want to. You can also specify the mode. Was it under here? I thought it was. Maybe it isn't. No. Oh, it's not here. Oh, display mode. No, that's not it. Where is it? Oh, maybe I'll find it in a second. There's a mode as well that lets you choose, you know, whether it's a SCART input or a HD input and all of those kind of things, really. Again, leave that as OpenGL. Window size, obviously, up to you. Really not much to change in here. Audio, again, not much to change. Don't click on the real-time DSP processing. There is an option somewhere, I think it's in the EEPROM setting, so unless you're really digging around where you can set surround sound, apparently it doesn't work properly, so you can leave that. But I did have a bit of trouble with the audio at the start, and then it just suddenly started working. It was very strange, so not quite sure what happened there. Network, again, not much unless you really want to turn the network stuff on. You don't really need to do that. And oh, here we go, AV pack. There we go. So you can select your AV pack there, so you'll get different. I think that will change how it renders on the screen. I suppose I didn't see that when I was looking in here under there. But essentially that is it. There is nothing much more that you need to do. But ultimately you're pretty much ready to go. So the next thing we're going to just talk about then is the games and how we get those running, and that's probably about it actually. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do then is go and find ourselves some games. Now there are a couple of things that we can do here in terms of getting games running on the Xbox, or getting the on the Xbox emulator, getting the games onto the Xbox emulator. You can actually pop your Xbox onto FTP, or set it up via FTP for those of you who know, and you can actually pull the files across. I think there is something you have to do to your Xbox to do that. Generally speaking, I think for most people that's not something you're going to want to do. There are plenty of sites out there for Xbox ROMs. If you've played any other emulators, you'll know that's typically how you will find them. Obviously, because it's an Xbox, we're talking DVD size, so we're talking quite large files, so bear that in mind. They can take a little while to download. But there is a really important point which you need to be aware of. So under machine, if we want to load a disk, so if we've got ourselves some ROM disks, we can go into load disk here. What we're going to see straight away is the wrong folder. If we go to Xbox emulator files. All right, so you can see here on the left-hand side, in the middle of the screen here, we've got Blinks, we've got Fable, we've got Halo. Apologies that it's not in a particularly tidy state. Let's just fold up a couple of these. You'll notice that Fable and Halo both have a .iso extension on them. And what that basically means is they are just standard disk images. So if I double clicked on those on this Mac, it would mount those and I would actually be able to see what was in those disk images. Those unfortunately are not suitable for the Xemu loader. You need a special Xbox disk format, and it's called xiso.iso. So you'll see here there's a Fable one, and also if I open this Blinks folder here, you can see here .xiso.iso. And if it's not in that format, it won't work. And you can't just rename your ISO to xiso.iso. It actually needs to go through a little bit of processing to make that happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, if you can download them in this xiso.iso format, great, you won't need to do anything. And that's what I managed to find Blinks as in that format, and so I was able to pretty much play the game straight away. For something for some of these other games, so Halo and Fable down here, when I downloaded those, they just came in this .iso format, so I needed to convert them. So you can see I've converted Fable already, but what we're going to do now is we're going to have a go at converting Halo into that format. So I'll be right back with you in just a second. Alright, so there's a few tools for doing this. Now, because I have a Mac, one of the tools that is available, it unfortunately only works on Windows, which isn't really much use to me. But there is a tool that I found online. If you go to the Xemu site, you will actually find a link to this, which is really handy. So it's an online tool, and it's really, really simple to use. So it's called xiso Packer. And it's here at this xiso.antangelo.com, and I will put the link in the description. And all we've got to do in here is we've got to go to the folder, pick an ISO image, select an ISO image. Let's pick Halo. Open here, save image, and then that's it. That's going to just tell us to save it as the .xiso.iso. I'm going to put it in the folder of my emulator files, going to click save, and then it's just going to go do it. Okay, so there we go. That was a lot more sped up for you, but even so, that was still quite quick. I mean, it was 2 or 3 minutes at most to get that done. Probably not even that. So very, very quick to do. You'll notice here as well, they have their disclaimer that they do not endorse or promote piracy. So yeah, as I mentioned before, use your judgment carefully here. But we now do have our ISO image. So we can go back to the emulator and let's have a look and see if we can get Halo loaded up. Right, so if we click on here now, as Halo appeared, there we are, there's Halo at the top there. So let's open that up and see what happens. It's an important point actually to remember. So what you tend to do here, what you'll do is you'll load a disk. So you're just like putting the disk in, and then we're going to hit reset. So we're going to, so if you're sitting there wondering what's going on, that's what you need to do. So let's hit reset on this, and then hopefully our disk will load. There we go, this is a good sign. This is a good start. So you'll notice here that the audio is off, and that seems to be a thing. I don't know if that's my setup, but it will come on in a bit. So I'll suddenly sit there. I think weirdly I did a search for my audio is not working on Xemu, and as I was doing the search, it suddenly just came on. So not quite sure why, but there we go. Let me see. Not sure why it does that, but yeah, it seemed to sort itself out after a little while. If you're having any problems yourself, then yeah, obviously go and have a look to see what options there are. There's very little in the way of options for setting up audio. So yeah, really don't know what's happened there. Now, in terms of once you load the games, if you want to swap the games over again, you can just come up to the top here, eject the disc, load a new disc, hit reset. I think you can just load a disc and hit reset. I think that's the same effect. Yes, let's skip through the cutscene here and get into the game. It's not too bad, actually. Some games, I noticed when I played Fable earlier, the frame rate was absolutely shocking for some reason. For some other games, I played Blink's Time Sweeper before as well. That was okay. It was a little on the slow side. I think it has a few little moments. But bear in mind that I'm using this computer is an old i5 iMac from 2019, so it's quite old now. So I think if you're playing this on a modern PC with a good spec, I don't think you'll have any real issues at all. What I haven't done is tried it on my ROG Ally yet. Actually, I might just have to give that a go and see how it plays on there as well. I think that could be quite interesting. But yes, so there you go. For some reason, OSD, look up and down. There we go. Yeah, it's not too bad. Incidentally, you can also come up to the top here if you are suffering with frame rate a little bit. Like that. Go to debug. You've got your monitor here, which will just give you sort of any error messages that pop up. But your video one will also tell you what your frames per second are. So it's not brilliant. We're looking at what, about 20 at the moment, so it's not fantastic. I don't know, it doesn't look that bad. Actually, I'll over the top of the thing here, so I don't know what to do. Use X to use CryoTube. So bear in mind, X on the PlayStation controller is square. He says that's not working. Let me just close that off. There we go. So yeah, it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. So there we go. So that is that is it. So just bear in mind, just a bit of a recap then. So what you're going to do is you are going to download your Xemu. You are going to go and you're going to need to find those files to help get you set up. So that's the MCPX file, the hard drive file, and the BIOS file. The EEPROM one should already be on there, so that's okay. So you need to find those files, get those set up, and then you will need to go and get yourself some games. Bear in mind, of course, that you will potentially need to convert those to that xiso.iso format to get those running. Load those up. Get those started and enjoy playing Xbox games on your PC or your Mac. So let's just have a quick wash up now, yeah, I'll tell you what I think of the emulator, a few more little tips, and then I think that'll be it for the day. So there you go. Hopefully that was useful for you. That is my very quick guide to setting up Xemu on your Mac or your PC, and I think it works quite well as an emulator. It's pretty good considering the age of the age of the console being one of the sort of newer generation of consoles. Like I said, still over 20 years old, but some of these newer ones are quite hard to emulate at times. On my 2019 Mac, performance is a little bit variable. You may find with something a little bit more modern and a bit more pokey that you're going to get a better outcome with that, I'm sure. And the games I was playing when I was playing Blinks, yeah, it was still very playable. So I enjoyed playing that. And in fact, that's a game that will be coming up for review very, very shortly. So yeah, that was it really. So go check out Xemu yeah, get yourself some games and have a go at playing Xbox emulation. Obviously, if you have the real thing, that's always better. Yeah, as I say, I mentioned I was using the PlayStation 4 controller for doing that. I think an Xbox controller is probably going to be better. Even if you get yourself an Xbox 360 controller or something like that, that's probably going to be a better bet than a PlayStation controller. It's just gonna feel a bit more natural. But yeah, definitely a few options there. So that's it for this week. So coming up on the channel, we will be doing another game review next week. Then obviously we've got the Xbox review coming up as well at the end of the month as part of my month with series. Also, just in other news, I have got a new channel. So some of you may have noticed that I briefly, it's unlisted now, but I did have a brief sort of health diary video that I was doing last week, and I do still want to do that, but I've moved that over to a new channel called @PollyWantsABurger. In my my perhaps poor attempts to keep the pirate theme going. So I am going to continue with those blog videos, but I wanted to separate that from my retro gaming thing, really. I just felt that it was just too confused if it was on here, but I do want to carry on doing it. So I have that companion channel now. I'll drop the link into the description if you're interested in my weight loss journey, which is all about accountability, really, for me. That's why I want to vlog it, so I kind of have to come on camera and say what I did. Then please go check it out. But yeah, I shall say no more about that. So that was it for this week. So the first how-to video in quite a while. If you've got any other ideas for things that you want me to do how-tos for, do let me know. At some point I will talk about the hen system on the PlayStation 3, which is a great way of getting PS2 games running on a newer version of the PS3. So if you had a launch PS3 and it's still working, great, you're good to go with PS2 games. If you didn't have a PS3 launch, then I did have a PS3 launch, but it broke. Then you will need to mod. You can actually mod PS3s, like the Slim and the Super Slim. It is possible to mod those and do a soft mod as well. So it's nice, safe soft mod, allows you to play PlayStation 2 games. So at some point that's going to be a how-to video that I'm also going to do. There are videos out there in the meantime if you want to go out and find out how to get that done on top. So yes, that's it for this week then. If you do enjoy these videos, please do hit that like and subscribe button. Really appreciate it. And I have just hit a milestone of 400 subscribers, which for me is massive. So thank you so much for all those people that have subscribed. Really do appreciate your support. Keep it coming. Yeah, until the next time, I will see you around. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.